I wasn't very familiar with the term, but somebody asked me about Dutch capes. I looked it up and looked at the pictures, and um, so here goes. Now, auto build roofs is on. It's just for whatever reason it's on by default, I guess. I'm going to turn that off. You notice I've changed my tool icons to what I prefer, which is a parent and a child. Excuse me. We'll open the build roof dialog and turn off auto rebuild roofs. And I'm going to get rid of these hip ends. Now the software just builds a hip roof by default, whatever you draw. And so let's take a look at this in the overview so you can see this. I'll do Shift F6 so you can watch it develop. I'll hit Shift F6. There we go. So there's the camera view, and you change the active screen by just left-clicking on them. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to my plan view screen and parallel these out using a parallel perpendicular tool. I'm just left-clicking and then selecting from the Edit Toolbar, the parallel perpendicular tool. Just a time saver. It's very difficult to get that stuff perfectly straight just by dragging it. Now, I'm going to click on that automatic dimension. You can see that it's dimensioning to the outside edge of the framing, and in this case I want it on the inside edge. So I think I'm just going to drag it rather than try to calculate in my head the exact thickness of that wall there. Look at 6 inches. So maybe I can use that value for this other side. Set that to 6. That looks all right. We'll do the other end. Now that I know the value, I can just set it. Left click, input the value, and then hit enter. Oops. Automatic dimensions messed me up. I assumed it was going where I thought it was going to go. Let's set that to 0. Okay. Now this is the beginning of a cape, in that your roofs are inside this wall here, and the software isn't creating any attic walls because, I don't know, just because it didn't. There's a couple of ways to do this. I think I'll do it one way on this end and another way on the other end. I'm just going to click here, hit the tab key to get the wall polyline here, and then pull that sucker up. Okay. Now that's like an old-fashioned storefront where, and this is facilitated because if I was to pull the roof plane over, it would chop the wall off. Let me hit F12. Well, it's not chopping it off. I expected it to chop it off, but it didn't. Let me pull that down to see if it doesn't chop it off. No, okay, it's being contrary. So we'll pull that up, and I'll put this roof plane back where it was at -6. Okay. Now, here comes the intricate part in terms of I guess we ought to make all of these walls. Let me change the walls to stucco walls, because capes are commonly, especially the pictures I looked at, looked like they were stucco. And we're going to open that selection set of walls. Hello, open up. It's not opening. I must not have held my mouse right. Or I got a roof plane in that selection set. There we go. I'm going to change these walls, go over to wall types, and change them to stucco walls. Stucco 6, yeah, that's fine. Okay, now we got stucco. Now to really do this properly, I'm going to get out of a regular camera view and use a elevation camera. Okay, now I can go over to this screen, and if I was doing this carefully, I would probably go to my CAD tools, CAD, and draw lines and dimensions and so forth to really lay this out symmetrically. Since I'm just demonstrating here, I'm just going to click on this on the wall polyline. See, I hit the tab key to get the wall polyline, and you can break it up. Now, if you're good with SketchUp, this is probably easier to do in SketchUp. You would make the shape here that you wanted in SketchUp and then import it and just stick it up there as an applique. But this is how you can just do it in Pro. And see, I think it's obvious now why you would use CAD lines, so that you can get things symmetric. And if you want this to go from this point to that point at a certain distance, we'll put a dimension in there. Let's say it's we want 2 feet. So we'll set that to 2 feet. And then I can move these wall polylines and snap them to the lines. That's what I was talking about a moment ago. Now, I can't click on this. There's no curve tool here, see? I click on this line entity right here. You can see that it's selected because its move handle is large. But there's no, like with a CAD line, you can make a CAD line. Let me explain what I'm talking about. You can take a straight CAD line, hello, there we go, and click on it, and in this edit toolbar, there's a make curves, see? But with wall polylines, that's not something you can choose. I'm going to make my curve here, and then move this curve over. See, I'd probably put a center line in and really put some thought into this. But again, I'm just showing you how to start, and then you need to use your own imagination and intelligence to figure out how you would then take it. I'm going to put a break right here, and then snap that to the end of the arc, and then put another break over here on this side. Doesn't matter where the break is, I can snap it to the line. You see where I'm going with this? In order to create a curve in Home Designer Pro, then you just have to make the curve. And kind of similar to that curved roof tutorial I did earlier today, we'll just snap that there. I'm going to zoom in, and you just have to break this curve, quote unquote, into short little segments. And it's not really all that agreeable. You really want to put CAD lines across there and make sure that your breaks are symmetric. And it's a pain in the rear. It's so much easier to do in SketchUp or in Pro, Home Designer, my bad, Chief Premiere, where in Chief Premiere you can just make custom curved objects and then make them a certain thickness and just stick them there. But as I often say, in the earlier days of me using Chief Premiere, then this is the only method that you had. You just had to take the wall polyline and shape it. Okay, that's enough. Now let's look at this in a camera view. It's going to ask me if I want to save this cross section, and it's asking me because I added dimensions and CAD lines. You might want to add it. I mean, you might want to save it. I'm not going to save it. Now we'll look at this in an overview camera. You see how it's developing. Now the only thing bad about this is this wall here. Let me just open it and show you. So much makes more sense. If you look at this wall, it's got stucco on the outside, but on the inside it's got drywall. And since it's a single wall, I can't just tell apart. Well, maybe I can. Let me go over to, okay, maybe I can do it with wall covering. I hadn't even thought of this. Well, click on Add New, and I want stucco, so that's under the siding category. I don't even know if this is going to work. We'll see. We'll go to the stucco category. I'm just going to put something on there. I don't care what the color is. Now I can tell this to be on the interior. That's where I want it. And top to ceiling, I want that at 0. And I would guess it needs to be about 4 feet tall. We'll just see how that works. Okay, it kind of sort of worked. No, it didn't go to the top. it's a little confused about what the top is. The software, in terms of what I intended. I mean, the software doesn't get confused, but let's see what I can do. Oh, okay, look at there. I wanted it 0 to top to the ceiling. Well, it's not doing what I told. It's not doing what I've never tried this before, so I didn't know what to expect. 0 height, floor to bottom. I wonder where it is putting that. Let me do a cross-section camera. I didn't mean to get off on this tangent, but it's germane. Okay, see, it's down here. Okay, so this method that I showed you is probably no good because you can't color the top. It's kind of when it keeps it inside the home dialog box. So we'll just skip that and do the other end. On this end, I'll go ahead and create another overview. And Shift F6, Shift key, F6 key. And we'll do the other end the way that you probably ought to be doing it. So maybe I've saved you some trouble by trying something that's not very workable. We'll go to the attic, turn on the reference display so I can see the walls and roof lines below, and then we'll just draw an exterior wall here on the attic level. And this is just telling me I just finished doing what I just did, so thank you. I knew that. Now I want to change this wall type to stucco 6, and it's a little out of alignment, so we'll align it with below, and we get kind of the same thing. But with this wall, I can let me turn it so you can see what I'm talking about. See, it's got drywall on this side, but since this is a separate wall, I can take this wall here and go to the Materials tab and put stucco on that side quite easily. I don't care if it's the right stucco. It'll see it shows up there. So you can see right away that this is a lot more workable than what I did on this end, just extending the first floor wall polyline. And then we'll go back to a elevation camera. And then, see, this is a separate wall polyline. I guess I should tell it also on the general tab to be an attic wall and be no room define and no locate. And then we can go about putting in the breaks and shaping the wall. Like I said, I really recommend this if you really want something that looks nice. This is just what you can do with the tools available. If you draw a shape in SketchUp and make it 8 inches thick or whatever, and then import it as a symbol and stick it there, I think it'll look better. But this doesn't totally suck. But it's just a bit more trouble. But it's something that you can do just in what you have, and you just put in as many breaks here as you need segments in the lines. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. That's all right. You left click on these and you can make them go wherever you want. Well, let's create the Alamo. And put a flat thing there. Take this flat and match it. I'm just using my cursor. That's the reason I use this crosshair cursor, because it's really handy for lining things up. And on this end, we'll just kind of make an Alamo. When I say Alamo, I'm talking about the old Spanish mission that's in Texas that was defended by rebels during the Texas War of Independence. And Texans know what I'm talking about, but maybe people elsewhere might not know what the heck I'm talking about, the Alamo. And this is a very poor-looking Alamo. I would want to work it out with CAD lines and dimensions, and so I can get symmetry and so forth. But you get the idea. Whatever you want to create, you can create it. Now we'll close that and do an overview and wrap this thing up. So that's how you do that sort of thing. Now, any architraves and other architectural appliques, you probably want to make those in SketchUp and import them, because Home Designer Pro doesn't have a lot of ability to make custom objects, but you can customize some things. Like in Chief Architect Premiere, I can make 3D molding polylines to create some of those architectural details and architraves. In Home Designer, it's a little bit more difficult, and that's the reason I recommend learning SketchUp. If you want to just stick with Home Designer Pro, then you're going to have to learn SketchUp if you want to make fancy, detailed architectural renderings. But this will give you the general idea of what you can do just in Pro, and I hope it helps some people and that you're appreciative of my efforts. And if you need some personal help with your project, well, then I charge $75 an hour, and I'm making this tutorial with GoToMeeting and just videoing a session. I do this sort of sessions with people who need personalized help, and so I make these to help people, but also it's a commercial for my skill, because I really know the software, and whatever problem you're having, I can help you with it. And so please feel free to email me or call me, and if you have a single question, I'll just answer it gratis. We try to keep it a single question, and one that I can answer in a couple of minutes on the phone. For things that longer than that, I want to get paid. I want to be exchanged with for my help, okay? So thank you for your kind attention, and good day.